All right, we're unmuted. This is the regular meeting of the recycling committee, originally scheduled for 6 o'clock PM. We have just a few people here this evening as a torrential rainstorm started out yet again for the third time this week. And this time it was more torrential than usual, just at the time everybody was going to start out. So we may get a couple more members here or not. It was making dents in a few people's vehicles. So instead of lasting just a few minutes, it lasted quite a bit. So this is, as I said, the regular meeting of the recycling committee, scheduled for July 11th. And my name is Catherine Ruth. I'm the grant administrator. And we've got some more guests here, which is great. I'm a former town manager of the town, and we'll go around and introduce ourselves and then start working on the items that are on the agenda. And then for those members that weren't able to come in due to the torrential rainstorm, we're gonna send information out to them, and then we're all going to vote over email, which is allowable. And then that will allow us to schedule our next meeting for our public session on our environmental projects. So we'll go around the room.
Don Shute, I'm the Public Works Director, also Recycling Transportation Coordinator.
And very wet.
Yes.
Ellen Sahuski.
David Whitman, Foreman, Pittsfield Transfer Station.
Megan Belton.
Well, thank you both for coming.
Mhm.
We may get a few more members. As you know, the weather was funky there. Each day it gets worse, so I hope nothing happens tomorrow. So basically, we had committee meeting minutes that were sent out to everyone. And their packets are on the table for those that have just joined us. Do we have any questions or corrections on the minutes? Yes. They were pretty detailed this time, but I wanted to go through the environmental items, make sure everything was there. All right, so we'll have the committee vote on those through email. The second item on the agenda is the reuse center update, grant application update. As you know, we did apply to a foundation, and when they voted on the application, they explained to us that we were a municipality. We should not be sending items in for funding to take the money away from the nonprofit. So that didn't work out well, but we had sent in the application because there are not any grants in the governmental area available to fix the reuse center. So I found another nonprofit organization that does not exclude municipalities and whipped up an application very quickly. I think we'll do better with this one, but still it's a long shot. I would note that we do have over $2,000 that is saved in the general ledger account for the reuse building. We've been saving the money to do some repairs and updates, so we'll be able to use those funds. We'll put a little budget together once we get a little bit further and we know once the roof is in order. And so we'll have Donnie just update us on the roof, which I know he's ordered materials.
Yeah, the materials are still ordered, a bunch of stuff obviously is back ordered. I think we're all having the same issues of finding parts of vehicles. Home Depot assured me it would be 3 to 4 weeks. We're at week 4, so I'm hoping by maybe next week with the July holiday and stuff that we'll get the ice and water shield and the shingles that are in. So for the third time today, I replaced the tarps. Because they've ripped off every time there's nice storms, so I was pleased tonight. I noticed, did you see that, Dave, when we went by, the tarps were still on the roof tonight with new strapping, but having trouble finding materials, so I pulled a few favors. I went and bought 2 tarps over to Paris Farms that were saved for a fire department that was supposed to pick them up in Mount Scott County, so they said they hadn't been in them a month. I said I need them for a roof. So we got them 2 tops on the roof. We're ready to rock and roll. Hopefully that will save some more water from getting into the building.
So
And as soon as we know, as soon as I can get the stuff delivered, what we got for the insurance, $2,800 is enough to buy the materials. So we're gonna have Public Works and volunteers.
You know, our roof is leaking, our house roof. My uncle got something, we're actually putting it on Saturday.
Ice and water sheet.
No, because that can't go on top of the shingles.
Oh,
it's something that can. I can find out what it is if you want, cause
Yeah.
it's good for a couple of years. But we're doing that on Saturday.
Yeah, I'd be interested to find out what it is.
I don't know if he's,
Because especially for that second side.
Yeah.
The other side of the roof has some age in the shingles on it, and that's a matter of time before we have to replace those. That wasn't mentioned.
yeah, no, I'll check with him tomorrow and let you know. We'll be doing that on Saturday, so I'll let you know how hard or easy it is. If you hear yelling from our house, it's just.
That means it's not going.
No, we appreciate that. We were fortunate that we were given the building by the American Legion. It's very well built, but it was an old structure. And so we did expect to have some work that needed to be done. We didn't expect all these strange storms that have 70-degree or 70 wind factor going on.
We did have the former guy that was running it stop in this afternoon to try to inform me that he found out something today that we don't own the building, and I said, yes, we do.
Oh,
Nice.
that gentleman.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
He said, do you know, I found out something real nice that, you know, the town doesn't, the VFW still owns that building. I said, no, they don't. I said, they built a building. Lyle Chadwick and Bob Tibbetts and Mr. Dewey, Arthur Dewey did the
Mhm.
building, and I said, we leased the land to them for $1 a year, and when the membership was done, they gave the building to the town. I said, so we own it. I think he wants to,
Mhm.
he's trying to find a way to get his way back into the building for some reason, so.
No, I remember the meeting that we had with the gentleman. We were very clear on what could happen and not happen, and then he didn't follow any rules.
So, yeah, we don't need that type of.
No, we don't. It's for people, once it opens up again, it's for people that need items. You don't have to pay a certain amount. It's by donation.
And I think it's with the economy and stuff, that's what we're seeing a lot of too. Transfer station, we've got the spot up front that we usually use, and that David this, and you set a phone down for a second. On a bar shovel or something, they come out. It's like, yeah, somebody left that brand new thing right there. We were just cleaning it up and turn around, go to them and turn around, come back and it's gone. So we don't leave any of our tools or anything that belongs to us outside because somebody will grab it. Thinking that's, but it's, I mean, we are doing a lot right there.
Mhm.
Yes. And one of the things that me and David talked about this afternoon was we have this big comics box out back that they want to know what could be done with it,
Oh, yes.
you know, down the road. And where we've taken 2 trailers out of the transfer station, the old tractor trailer bodies out, that may be an option to be able to fill that space and use one of those boxes for a reuse, because they're 8 feet tall on the inside, they're 40 feet long, they're 8 feet wide. You could put shelving on one side or the other and people could
Okay.
use that, but that's just a thought process.
Well, this is a service that's desperately needed again. People call the town office every week. Every week, somebody mentions to me when I'm up.
When's it gonna open? We hear.
When's it gonna open?
When's it gonna open? When's it gonna
So
open?
as soon as the roof is, we know the roof is gonna be fine and we've got the schedule going, then we can start going in to clean it. And then we can, after that, further along, we'll be able to advertise for people to bring the items there. I know of people that are saving items, including myself. We've got almost a room of items I've been saving for the reuse building. So we'll be able to stock it and everything.
I'll be more than happy to help clean it and set everything up with it too.
So we appreciate that. It's just that because it closed down and it didn't have any heat, I mean, everything should go.
It's clean.
It's not all new.
Yeah, no, I'm,
You cleared
He
up?
he did a lot of work
All
on
by
it.
myself.
Oh.
Donnie, you should have let me know, I would have went.
Well, the dumpster, that just saved a lot of time for people, when I had 2 guys while I was doing it, yeah, come in and start trying to pick stuff or whatever, and I said, this is full of mold.
Yeah.
I don't need you in the building, this is why it's coming out.
Yeah.
We got a 40-yarder there and it's half full, and a lot of it was, you know, like the books and stuff, I mean, it was. I mean, if you open the door, what we need to do now is sanitize and.
Air it out.
Leave it out, air it out, get us a couple fans in
Yeah,
there.
there's still work to be done. It has to be
Friday,
reclaimed.
Saturday, Sundays off every week, so just let me know, you see me all the time, just let me know.
Yeah.
when I filed that grant application, it needed to fit into one of the categories, and of course, we wanted to have the area outside so that people could sit down and relax and talk to each other and everything, because it's a gathering place, and an area inside. So because the seniors, were running the facility, and the senior, it's 90% seniors, I added on to reuse and senior center. So when it's open, the seniors can come down, and hang around, talk to each other, pick up items, and do what they're already doing, and just get some, acknowledgement that they're there doing the work. So time will tell. We'll see if we, are able to get some funds. If not, we can be very conservative. We do have the monies that were saved on the general ledger for this project, when we needed it, and we could do a fundraiser or something. We'll get it going. It's good to get the issue with the roofs and the storm in December, straightened out. And then we'll go through all the steps and do a outline. So up recycling, is just how to incorporate into the recycling program. I'm gonna make a list of different sites. This is for materials that, instead of just reusing a bottle, you would make a craft out of the bottle, or you would create something from that bottle. So it was of a higher level and could be used, mostly this is crafting, but it was an item that one of the committee members brought to us, and it's a good idea. Some of the items that are created are just astronomical. People are very talented, from using materials that other people would throw away. So we're gonna put have a recycling page, on the town website at some point, and then put all of the different links so people can go and look at these, items and see if they want to, create some crafts, go pick up items at the reuse center when it's open, or go to the recycling center and get things, or just save them at home. So the real meat of the matter is the climate action planning. And the committee's been working, I think, 3 meetings now on going through the materials that are required in order to apply for a state cooperative venture. And once you're a member of that venture, you can then apply for grants. The grants have no match. So there's grants up to $50,000 per year, at least for this year, perhaps next year, in which you can look at climate items that would help the community. And as we know, this is because of all the strange weather that we've been having, and very hot, very cold, dangerous situations that people all across the world and the United States have found themselves in. So in all the materials that we have, did everyone on the committee have any questions on how I wrote up and combined items from our status document of where we are now? I tried to combine as much as I could. It's a 4-page document we worked on for 3 meetings. And of course, we're supposed to just have in some categories 2 or 3 or 4 items, and we had like 9 or 10 in each category. So I combined the like items. And what we'll do, if nobody has any issues this evening, we'll set our public informational session for our next meeting, which is August 8th. We'll do an announcement in the Rolling Thunder and advertise this on Facebook and everything. And we'll go over this document as well as the next one we're gonna look at. And send out an email to everyone so they can vote on this, make any changes that they want as our final document. And then at that public session, this is for informational purposes. If others that come have other ideas, we can add them on and decide what the final document will be that will go to the town council and then to the state name. So that's the community resilience self-evaluation draft number 3 for 7/11/2024 that was sent out to the committee and Donnie. And we'll set a due date for everybody to respond, and I can put our new interested parties on there too, and you can make responses on what you think we should keep or add or subtract or leave the same. So the document that's really the meat of the matter this evening and why we've continued on is in order to be ready for the August 8th session. So we can then go to the town council on August 18th, I believe, to get approval to file for the cooperative for the resilience program at the state. It's a document that's in front of us, 4 pages. Committee had taken from the, I think it's A, B, C, D, E, F, there were 7 areas that we can have projects in for applying for a grant. And the committee chose strategy area F, build healthy and resilient communities. Strategy area G, invest in climate ready infrastructure. And strategy area H, engage many people. We don't need to do all these items, because we need to, once we figure out the items that we are most interested in, I'll cost them out. Basically, you would be eligible for funding for a consultant, an engineer that's experienced in these areas to assist the town, as well as a committee will work on items and staff so that we can put together certain plans or projects. And so under strategy area F, build healthy and resilient communities, the main item that came out at the meetings is that we need a vulnerability assessment so that we know what these risks are, and you can pick out like, 90 to 110 degree weather that we've had over the last year or so, which is going to continue, and look at the population of elderly in homes that don't have any air conditioning. Is there a place for them to go? Is there some place where they can be safe? We would identify the populations around the community and come up with a plan to deal with this. It doesn't necessarily mean we're going to build a building or anything, but we may be able to work out with other entities that we can have people go to a certain location in town. Let's pick out one of the fraternal organizations or the schools during the summer that would be available, so there's a cooling center so that seniors and others could go there. If we had an extended power outage like we did several years ago, I think on the road I live on, the power was out for 3 days or 2.5 days. Most people had generators, but not everybody can afford a generator. So is there a location that people can go to during the winter? If the same power outage happens, and you can't use your furnace and don't have a generator, is there a place where people can go to get warm so they don't get cold and sick? So those are items that a study really is needed to get this resolved. I know our EMA director has talked, we'll set it up when it comes time, but we gotta get something in order. We got so many new people coming into town. It's not the same as it used to be, where everybody knew where to go. You go to MCI, for example, and now it's Warsaw School. If it's set up, with so many people moving in and the population changing, people need to know when the internet is out, the electricity is out, a lot of people don't have communication and they don't know that this is going on. Their area might have electricity. Some people they know could go to their house for a while, but everybody doesn't connect up because there's no source of information going out except for the radio. Because the town's website's off and everything. And we're applying for a generator for this building to replace the model that's here. There's fortunately been some changes in the regulations because that is a major project with the federal tools, and they've just exempted everybody that has projects under $1 million because it costs so much to go through the project, and it would have taken like 8 or 9 days of my time to put the whole thing together using the tools, and now they've exempted some of that, so it'll just be maybe 3 or 4 days, so that's good. So we're gonna work on a generator for the building, so we could be a site that people would go to. But the most important item in having the site is that if there's an emergency situation going on, all the emergency people need to meet and have a location where they can do things. We can't be running cords around the building trying to hook into the only outlet that works.
I will just comment too, just as FYI, July 8th. I haven't reviewed it yet, but I just got the new proposed plan for the county hazard mitigation plan. So July 8th, I opened it real quick. I gotta review it, but they want everybody to review it in the county. So it's our whole county hazard mitigation plan that's gonna go to the feds. So I will see if I can print that off and I'll give Catherine a copy of it.
Oh, that'll be great.
And review to see, because every town was supposed to contribute to the county plan, so.
Want to know that to me as well.
Yeah.
We'll get together.
Yeah, we can send that out to the committee too, for those that are interested. So I will make a note on, strategy area, ask about that. So I put down for the community vulnerability assessment that we would review existing policies and strategies and conduct a community vulnerability assessment to identify risks in the vulnerable populations. A lot of this we know, it's in different locations for information. We need to put it all together. Because you have to remember, the community has changed a lot, the staffing has changed a lot. So we need to make sure that everybody knows the information so that somebody doesn't get stuck out there not knowing. That should be in a position to know, and that an elderly person or a disabled person or just a family doesn't have the correct information. They go to the wrong location, there's tree down and everything. This would be a important project. And then we would adopt a climate resilience, climate action plan. So I'd say that's probably the most important item we have, and a lot of these all feed into this too. Update the local or county EMA hazard mitigation plan. So I'll put in a note that we received the draft on July 8th. And then it's underway. The third item, F3, develop or enhance early warning systems and community evacuation plans. And this is something where in the olden days here, we had a siren on the building, so everybody knew when that went off, there was a problem. And to be careful or to tune into a certain station. So we need to figure out of the options, what would be available to us. And one of the items the town's been talking about when we update the webpage is to have alerts that can go out. So if the power's on and people have power, that's fine, but that's only gonna be part of the situation. Yeah, you've got, what do you do when you don't have any power, there's no Wi-Fi? You gotta have a solution here, telling people what to do and warning them about items. And so that would be looked at, and I'm sure there's options.
Broadcast on AM radio wave.
Yes.
Ham radios.
Yeah.
They do like the Amber Alerts
Mm.
and stuff like that to cell phones or thunderstorm warnings.
Mhm.
Is there like something for?
The same thing holds true. What happens if you lose power, your cell phone's dead, you can't check your cell
Well,
phone.
yeah.
You can't the internet.
Initially,
And if
you
you,
have a little
yeah,
power
and
left.
if you got major, see, one of the problems that we've done is the same way. Any emergency services, we rely heavily on radios. And we can get through radios as long as we have the power, so as of, I think, 3 or 4 years ago. We just put in a new generator out at our repeater site, so, but again, that's emergency personnel, but one of the things that can happen. It's the same with the phone lines. As we've excelled the cell phones and people have those, nobody has a home phone. Reverse 911. That's one of those tools that are awesome to have, because that's a dispatch center that reverse calls everybody on 911 and says, this is a message, this is, if you need water, you need this, you need this. So right now, they're trying to find out how to simulcast that from a regular phone to a cell signal. To be used by radio waves to be able to get it, but again, that's only gonna be as. That's only gonna be as good as. That's only gonna be as good as the people who have a cell phone, because if you've got a cell phone, they're gonna work, if you like, got it on or it dies. People that don't have power most of the time.
In any emergency situations, communications have always been the weak point of all things.
And it's the same way, but that's how they do evacuations in the city, you know, it's radio, so the fire department, the police department. They set up a unified command, and then they use the squad cars with their loudspeakers, and they go around and say, okay, everybody on the squad has until 10 a.m., 10 p.m. to get into your house. We're under a curfew or you need to, evacuate. This is what's going on. You've got an hour, you need to evacuate whatever you can, and the local shelters are here, and they'll drive up and down the road with the police cars and communicate that. But that's why we have radios to do that, and we have backup power, but it's the same way. How do you do it in a community where it probably work well in town? But then when you get out into West Pittsfield and those places, how are you gonna hit everybody? How can you communicate? How can we make everybody aware? Planning, is part of it, is having a mitigation plan and an evacuation plan that we can advertise get it completed, and then we start doing it now before the stuff goes out. So if anybody's got any questions, we set up an information center, and this is where it's gonna be. So if you've got any questions about how do you get food, how do you get heat, how do you get all the stuff? And if you've got a vehicle and you can find a way to get to a certain point, then there's information there for you to be able to get through the actual ones.
Brainstorm idea on that one with the centralized locations for meeting. What about like with the kiosks that we have around town? Is to have informational material available at the kiosk and let the public know that this is where this information is, the communications go down. It's not a perfect plan, but it's something hard copy, hard line.
I think that's a great idea. Have
Winterize or weatherize.
a community bulletin, a lot of places, they have community bulletin boards, and that's what they do. Like you said, if we had a generator, a reliable generator, or if we had just a message board that people could drive down here, and that information can be displayed across the screen where people could say it, okay, this is, if you need a warming center or a cooling center, you need to go to Wausau Middle School. If you need food or you need shelter, this is where we're gonna do shelters for people, and this is how we get there, you know? But
Unfortunately, all this is coming here.
it is, it's
Crazy
that,
weather.
that's just, not just the weather, it's everything, you know, it's, we're it's very, very disturbing. Cause I've been doing the training that I've been doing online for a while, talking about solar flares and EMP. And what's going
Yeah.
Mhm.
How many days do you think that the common American that has food and water for? How many days?
48 hours max.
72 hours.
What, can survive?
That's when you're gonna have your water and food stuff running out, is in 72 hours, then what are you gonna do? Panic sets in, so after 72 hours, you're already gonna start having people panicking on where am I gonna get? I look at it this way, I grew up in Maine. I can go out in the woods and forage and find mushrooms, I can find something, but most people don't, if the newer generation, they can't go to McDonald's or go to some place where they can cook the food, they don't have spot. So it's scary, it really is, because they're talking about if we had a solar flare, it doesn't even have to be a solar flare, that our power grid went down for 2 weeks, we would be in huge trouble. I lived through the ice storm, I mean, we went through that was tough.
Better off in the bigger cities, I think, but still.
I was across the street right there, and I was the only one in town that had power on 117 Middle Street. I got 52 guys coming up taking showers and.
I was gonna say.
I'm like, holy God, this is, I mean, I was living at the fire station pretty much, but then I was the only one that had power, so. We coordinated to make sure that people could get something to eat. If they needed a place to go to stay warm, they went there.
That's before they changed how things were hooked up. Because it used to be the town office never went out.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something that we can plan for, but again, this stuff is evacuation routes, we're gonna get stuff available, we can work on this now, so if it does happen.
It's happening more and more. I never lose power. I don't know about you. Twice, I lost power yesterday and the day before.
I know.
I've been in that house over 5 years. I've lost power 4 times and twice was this week.
That's because that route's hooked to the dam, and so it was always like
Yeah.
that one and the one with the hospital, all
My
together.
uncle was in the ER and they lost power in the ER for a minute.
Yeah.
That kills somebody a
It's
minute.
very, very unusual.
North Carolina, the last time we had line issues when we had the last storm. And we had the big ones on the high tension lines, the guys from North Carolina that I talked to, because he couldn't get over it because the river had flooded, so now you can't even make access to fix the power, because now you got flooding involved with the storm. They were truthful, I said, well, they said, you've got the most antiquated power system I have ever seen, they said, you guys are in trouble. We're in trouble, and we're the ones generating all the power and sending it out of state, and they said, you're in trouble. And so are a lot of people in the city are gonna be in trouble because we produce it.
Yeah, there's been a number of people from out of state that have come in to help us that have made these comments.
Right into the Kansas who says, you know what your problem is here? What? Trees, you get trees, somebody just laughed, okay,
Yeah, you go to, they don't see
you got
that.
trees here, that's your problem.
And the other thing is, if you think about it, when you do infrastructure improvements, you look at a lot of places now. That when they make an investment in the infrastructure, where's all their power?
underground.
So they don't have to worry, like you said, the tree, they don't have to worry about it.
Trees.
As long as you don't put your, put your power and stuff through something that's gonna flood or end up in the water somewhere, you'll do all right.
Well, it's not as cold as it was to be, so you don't have to worry about any frozen ground.
So we've sort of looked at this as being our number one project.
Obviously,
Definitely.
it's important.
And along with that is F4, develop a storm debris management plan. And we've talked about that before. We've done some projects in which we've gone around and picked up storm debris. But the comment that came out at the last meeting was also, what about the forests and all the wood that's down and everything?
And what do you, if we had something really major, what are we gonna do with them? Cause the transfer station, has to get capacity at some point where you don't have unlimited capacity, that you can just haul, 6 weeks in there with dump trucks and trailer trucks and just keep dumping brush. It's just something that we can't handle. So what do you do?
Burn it.
Okay, I like your enthusiasm, but admire it. Let's table that for later. That's an emergency situation.
So the storm debris goes along with all of this. We need a good plan. So the next area is reduce flood risk, and we have already addressed this issue because we were along the river, and so we have the flood insurance, we have the floodplain ordinance. We have the insurance and participate in the programs, we have the free boards and everything. And we have stormwater management requirements, so I wouldn't see that we would do anything more under reduced flood risk because where we're located, we had to take care of that years ago. Next area under the category of build healthy and resilient communities is strengthen public health. And the first item, F13, identify and plan to reduce public health threats in the community that are exacerbated by climate change. So part of the whole vulnerability study, this relates back, we would identify the public health threats and then include them in that vulnerability study. F14, develop and implement an extreme temperature emergency plan, including strategies to increase use of cooling centers by residents. Again, that's part of the overall plan, and I put in warming also. I would have written more, however, this document that came from the state has some issues in the cells, and so it doesn't work like a regular Excel document. So everything goes off the page, even though it's set up correctly. So I'll be short on many of these categories. F15, establish a peer-to-peer program for checking in on vulnerable community members during extreme heat or cold events. And we're going to determine those vulnerable populations, where they're located. A lot are in certain buildings and have assistance through the owners and everything. So that's good. But there are people out there all through the community that may need help and are vulnerable. And so if they were interested, because we're not going to force anyone to do anything unless there's an evacuation that's required by the public safety, or being on site and staying there. People would participate in this if they wanted to, but set up a method to check on well-being during difficult weather conditions. When we had the ice storm, I was in a community that had a full-time ambulance service, so we sent EMS out all through the community, door to door, and what they found was shocking. We had to bring people to different buildings. They had gas heaters and plastic over it, and they were underneath it. I mean, very, very dangerous situation. So there was a lot of education after that.
Blood pressure just went up a little bit on that statement.
F16 is to increase community level resilience to mosquito-borne diseases by implementing vector controls to decrease mosquito habitat. Well, we're a wet community because water is everywhere, even when it's not raining out. So I wrote down, and this is something, you may want something different. I wrote down, explore non-toxic methods to decrease mosquitoes. I'm not sure there are any. I tried to research this several years ago when we wanted to start developing the town farm. And I wrote town farm down there because I've never seen so many mosquitoes behind the reuse building further in.
Transfer station, that bog out
That
there.
bog out back is kind of.
It's crazy. I don't know if there's something that's not toxic that we could do.
Plants.
Pardon?
Yeah, somebody told me. about
Peppermint,
peppermint, some stuff like that, they
basil,
grow certain,
citronella plant.
certain herbs.
Yeah.
all of those plants are with the garden club.
Mhm.
All of those plants do repel mosquitoes and
Yeah.
other
I had
bugs.
my deck
And that
covered
works
with
out
the
good
citronella
for
plant. I did
small
not-
areas. You know, like at your house, you know, because you could do that with the different items to repel things, which is a great idea. We
I mean,
should
some of those
tell
grow,
people more.
Wisconsin,
big.
was it Wisconsin?
Mhm.
Yep, Peninsula or something, I saw something where they actually seeded an old bog and they seeded it for. They had somebody volunteer with a plane or something and they actually planted it.
They were wrecking the habitat for all the bog creatures. Can't do that.
Also, this is grass, lemongrass. so they
If
no
there's
different
creatures
from-
in there, if there's mosquitoes, there's other creatures that eat the mosquitoes, and you can wreck the whole habitat. I know you don't want that.
Listen,
Not my
let me
backyard.
tell you, I'll tell you how I really feel. That if they would spray for these ticks and stuff,
Yeah.
I should bring back DDT and do night spraying once every 3 to 4 years to knock the population down.
Yeah,
Because
lots of
I've
population
had,
down.
I've had like 50 of them on, since I've been sick, I've had like 50 of these things on me burrowing.
Well, I mean, they-
And I don't go anywhere, I mean, I don't go in, it's not like I'm in the woods, I'm
They like
walking in the
them.
parking lot, they pick one. So,
Um,
I think we're gonna have a lot of, they just had what, the second one that just died for Woodstones or whatever, over in Thomaston a couple weeks ago,
okay.
second one that's died already from attacks the central nervous system.
I know.
Them old bugs, I'm telling you, there's gotta be a way.
We
to
need
do
more
that.
bats, but we killed the bats off with the diseases there, so the predators, the natural predators. Anyways.
Yeah, I remember the days when
We
you
used
could go
to
out in the
have-
woods and not worry about that. Now you'd be
I've
covered
only
with
been here
ticks.
20 years and we used to have bats flying
Well, let
around in
me-
our yard at night and there's no
I'll
bats
Tell you,
around. They
you know
eat
why ticks are
mosquitoes.
getting here? You go
Yeah.
watch it in Fish and Wildlife, look at their thing, a study on turkeys and the migration of turkeys.
Mhm.
They've got videos on there that I've seen these turkeys that call them fanning when they do
Yeah.
this and they
Yeah.
fan to get the leaves to find seeds.
Uh-huh.
And you put a slow motion, they show them fanning and you watch hundreds of ticks flying off. They won't attach to turkeys, they hitch rides with them, so now that all the turkeys are migrating. they're
So
bringing-
increase the
so-
turkey hunting.
We
Well-
did call,
Take the ticks off for you.
where did we go? The woods that we went to, there was no bugs.
Oh, down in Hampton?
Yeah, I think so. There was no, we went for a 2 mile hike, not one bug.
Yeah, they maintain that.
I don't know what they do, but I mean,
That's something they maintain now.
I don't know if there's a way, you know, they can be contacted to see what it is that they do, but not one bug.
Where was that?
Okay, they're gonna outlive humans or something.
Well, when it's this type of weather, hot, humid or whatever, this is insect weather, this
Oh,
is just
yeah.
insect and vectors. and bugs.
Hollowell Vaughan Woods.
It's public access, it's very, very well maintained, like whatever. they-
Easy walk, I suggest it for everybody. We'll be taking the grandchild soon.
Yes, but if we're having running water, stream, low water, and there's not a single mosquito, that's
Oh.
something going on.
It was insane.
There's gotta be something that they're doing,
Yeah, they've done something
I wanna know what plants they have and I wanna introduce them.
and done well.
dragonflies.
Oh,
I don't, I've seen
They're
that,
on
I've heard,
it, too.
I've talked about buying.
all the good bugs are going away,
Putting
yeah.
a pond in the back of my house.
Mhm.
Well, I do
Johnny,
know,
I'll help you with that. I love dragonflies. Let's put some butterflies in there too, though.
well, I do know about the turkeys and all the ticks and everything. I had about, before you moved in, I had about 32 turkeys moved into the back of my area, because it's like 3 acres. They came up and before I put the new siding on, they were chewing on the cedar on the back of the house. And I had to run them all off, and finally I got rid of them. They were out over in your front tree, hanging there upside down.
Danny, have you seen that?
Yeah, oh, yes.
When I had my land over in Detroit, I had an oak grove. And I'm like, every time I go down on the weekend, there was all these branches broken off. The ends of the branches, it was awful. All my oaks are dying on the very edges, and I'm like, what is going on? So a buddy of mine said, put a game camera down there and face it up instead of down, face them up and see what's going on. If it's bugs, if something's coming flying in at night.
Yeah.
You know what it was?
Turkeys.
The big ones were flying up on the very edge of those branches and they're breaking them off to knock all the acorns on the ground. And then they were sitting there picking all the acorns off the branches, and then they, two or three of them fly up on the end of the branch, and they way down, snap, and they fly down, and
Clever, smart. I thought they were
Very smart.
but they busted every one of my trees. It made me so mad. I
Yeah.
said, boy, if I knew I wasn't gonna get in trouble, I'd sat down there and off every one of them.
Yeah.
Cause they just, I couldn't believe the amount of damage to the trees. I mean, I had 6 or 8 acres of trees that were just all dead because of those birds.
Yeah, well, we haven't seen them for a while.
No, it's good. I haven't seen as many as we normally do on Peltoma down by the airport. You used to see hundreds and hundreds. I don't think I've seen 15
No,
in the
they,
past 2 years.
Done.
So they moved on somewhere else.
but the Coyote really caught up with them.
Yeah.
So continuing on past all of our animal stories.
Sorry about that.
F-16, increased community level resilience, okay, connected to the mosquito, so we're gonna find some sources, and we got one here this evening to look into. F-17, implement school-based programs to educate students about prevention of mosquito and tick-borne diseases. I can only say that SAD 53 did one of their science-based programs, and when we went to the gym to check this out, they had pictures of ticks that were like this big. It was very creepy, very, very creepy, all along the walls and everything, and they were so proud of. Thanked them for all their work, but didn't look much at those pictures. Biggest ticks in the world there, but they work on projects like this all the time, which is great. Strategy Area G, invest in climate ready infrastructure. This one's a little bit more complicated. It's the vulnerability assessment again. However, then, once you have the assessment, you need G2 to develop a capital investment plan that identifies vulnerable municipal assets and prioritizes resilience and improvements in a new construction. So this is where you would have your capital improvement plan that we currently have, that's over $54 million. And we would add in a few items that would help some of the buildings that are not set up as well to be resilient, like the reuse building, for example, because it's older. Or some of our structures and how we're set up in the different departments. And so if possible, then you would plan some funding for that, likely through grants and everything, because there'll be more coming down, different programs. And then incorporate all this in a comprehensive plan update, or at least mention it. So the comprehensive plan gets updated every 10 years. And so money's been put in the budget the last 2 years for that project, with the council in the end did cut that line. So we haven't started in on the comprehensive plan, but it lists the direction of the town for the next 10 years. And I expect that this will make it in some form or other. And maybe we could do the projects together. Anything we want to change so far? It's definitely, we're gonna need somebody to help us. The committee's not gonna have time to do this. I'm not going to, Donnie's not going to, the town manager, but. So we would get some help from an engineering firm, likely, or a firm that does planning. Utilize climate-ready standards, designs, and practices to improve infrastructure. And this talks about improving and protecting drinking water, wastewater treatment, stormwater facilities to reduce physical damage and sustain function during extreme weather events. We've gone out and got a generator for some of the different buildings, a backup water pump generator for the water pump station. There's more that can be done, so that would be identified through this vulnerability assessment on the buildings and the capital improvement plan. We also talked to all of our associates about ideas and items that they have. The town did go out, and I should put this in here. We applied for one of the congressional directed spending items through our delegation to put in a backup water system from the water pump station to the downtown, so that we're not depending on just one route for all the water. It would go through and hook up to the Honeywell area so it can get downtown, so you'd have your regular route, and then you'll go across country on land that the town owns, so you have a backup route. Just in case, because we have, most of us lived through the 3-day period, there was no water downtown. Because everywhere where we tried to move the water, to get down, once there was a break and you couldn't get past it, every road that we put the water on, the lines broke on them because the infrastructure is so old in the downtown. So we had 4 water breaks all going at once and to turn the system off. That has not happened since then, but the possibility is there of some troubles. So we did apply for that. It's an 80% grant, 20% match. So 20% match is a lot of money. It's $863 because it's a $4 million project. But if it got half funded, that's good. You do part of the project, and start setting it up. Because part of it is to fix the lines on Honeywell, which are very old. We're currently providing water to, major commercial and industrial structures that there's not enough strength, because the lines are so small, they can't have fire protection there. They have to do it the old fashioned way. They can't have anything automatic. So that's not good. But it's also $4 million. If your budget's 4 million, how do you come up with another 4 million? You don't unless you get a grant. So I'll add that on there. So we would look at the structures and the departments and everything. Should there be a generator at the transfer station, recycling center, things like that. G4 is adopt a policy that prioritizes green infrastructure to manage stormwater in developed areas. And so that's something that can be looked at for feasibility. I'm not sure if it would be adopted or not, but there might be some options there to put that in the ordinances. G5, adopt DEP's stream smart crossing guidelines as standard practice for culverts and bridge improvements in public works currently, as well as all of the contractors we ever have that work on the streams or on the dams or anything. Utilize Maine DOT best practices, but we can also review the DEP guidelines to see if that would be a better type of document with requirements to follow. And we would identify the crossings that are at risk. We've already replaced one of the two replaced with putting the coating inside the huge culverts on Sebastopol Street, but there's one more to do. Maybe this is a funding option for it. G6, assess wastewater treatment facilities for clean energy potential. I'm not sure if there can be on our lagoon system, but that's something that we can look at. We have the lagoon system, not the treatment facility, so that's wonderful, very low cost, and very natural because the whole system, as the materials go through, gets cleaned out. So eventually it goes into the river and it's 100% clean. So we're fortunate we don't have a sewer treatment plant. Those are very expensive, and have lots of issues, and especially now with all of the material, bad materials that have been found. Anyone have any changes or anything here? We're listing all these, we're likely not gonna do them all. So we'll figure out which ones we wanna do beyond the vulnerability assessment. Strategy area H, engage Maine people. In H1, establish or recognize an official committee, and in here, I think that this document's kind of strange. It prints out and is on the screen, but isn't in the block here. I noted that the recycling committee had been tasked with addressing climate change, environmental items, and I did pull out the 2005 plan that the recycling committee, Donnie and I put together, energy and environmental conservation plan, because we used to have energy forums. We used to do all kinds of environmental items. We planted the trees for green spacing and all of this, and so this stopped in 2015 when other items became a priority, but we do have a history of these items. And so should there, because this is so complex, there's going to be a lot here, and there's a lot to do with recycling and reuse, should we split off and have 2 committees? H2, create a climate change education outreach and engagement program focusing on mitigation and adaptation for residents and businesses. And so we would definitely, this is important, and this all goes into the vulnerability study and being able to notify people on what to do in emergencies. The education is like the first step in that. And publicizing it and going back to where we hold energy forums, for example. And if we were fortunate enough to get the Project Canopy grant that we applied for community forum, we could do an energy forum and a tree planting forum together and draw in more people. These used to bring in, anywhere from 72 to like over 100 people, but that was in the days when you didn't have the internet and Zoom and all of that. So we might need to do it over a platform like that. H3, and amplify public health advisories for climate related health and weather events. This is all the items that people should know if they either aren't paying attention, too busy, or don't have a cell phone, which a lot of people in town still don't. How do we get the information out so they know that the air quality is bad and maybe those people that have certain diseases shouldn't be out running and, you know, going jogging and cutting wood and all of these things. So how do we alert them? Again, how do we get to them? And that goes back to an overall system that we talked about before. H4, engage youth in resilience, clean energy and energy use reduction. And the schools have definitely been involved. They used to send members to the recycling committee meetings. They actually did projects and we've had contests in which they've submitted items for MCI, and we have used some of those materials as for the reuse program in the beginning and everything. So it might be good if we could actually get set up so that MCI could have senior projects and work on energy areas. They gotta do the projects, and so that would be something that could benefit the MCI campus and the town and everybody, the students. H5, engage populations that are vulnerable to climate impacts in all of this, and of course we need to identify the populations, locate the programs, but we need to get their input too, to see what they want to do, you know, and they may have better ideas. Some people that grew up in difficult times, you know, are used to going without items, and so they may have ideas of how you can keep food longer than, you know, we might have. And so we also, it indicates to have businesses involved too. It talks about under engage the business community and recognize climate leadership, which we did in terms of recycling and reuse. We had a forum in which we invited all the businesses and gave them awards that had done the most recycling in the community. And this would be sort of the same thing, those that did the reduction of using energy and use less gas footprint and everything. In different areas. It also talks about initiating a community bulk purchasing program with a vendor. So I put seek out bulk purchasing programs. I don't think that we would have the time. This would be more like a city would do. We would have time to create our own bulk purchasing setup, but certainly there may be some out there. Team up with the school districts might have fuel that they purchase. Maybe we could purchase that too. And help the citizens be able to hook into different programs so they can purchase things and save money. We just have to be careful it doesn't go through the town because of the sales tax item and complaints that might be filed and everything for violations of the state law. So you have to be careful on that. But still, that doesn't mean we couldn't find a list of bulk purchasing that citizens could go do with companies. That would be helpful. So that's what I wrote down for these items. And does it seem to you that the vulnerability assessment and the plans on the evacuation and alerting people is the most important item?
Information,
Yeah, it's
That's
information.
information, communication.
Yeah.
or just, yeah.
Yeah.
So you know what's going on. Let's say we were without power 3 days, my friend on the other side of town. We just found out, you guys didn't have power, you know, how long was like, that's 3 days, okay, didn't even know.
Yeah, I know. And that happened around the community too, certain parts. That
Yeah,
people
yeah.
understood And nobody really connected out.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the document that we've got. I will send this out to everybody. I'll get emails of, new interested parties. And then you can send in your comments. I'll give the due date and everything. We'll have the committee actually vote on this. And then go to the next meeting of the recycling committee in the regular schedule is the second Thursday of each month at 6 o'clock. And we'll set up a public session, advertise it, see if we can get a few people in here to go over this, we have interest. And then, once that's finalized that evening, schedule for the council meeting, I think it's on August 18th. And then get approval to file. And once we can file and get adopted so that we're part of this coalition, then when the grants come out in fall, it should be coming out in September, so this works well. We can work on a grant application for the most important items here. We'll prioritize these a bit too. How does that sound?
Good.
Very good. Anyone have anything else?
What about a community garden?
We've had plans for that in the past. It's been talked about down by the reuse building on that property. As well as a dog park. It's had many potential items.
Oh, I heard one today. Down there, top on it, they wanna make it, they want to use a reuse building for an animal shelter.
That
I'm sorry.
They thought that, you know, I don't know what with costs and what's going on, but like some of the stuff, like a community garden, it's probably. We found out because of the soil type and stuff,
Yeah.
that it's more sand there, so it's
Mm,
that's the most
Yeah,
beneficial.
is
place
there a
to do it.
water source too?
Right, and the most beneficial, same way with, you know, I've heard that with all of the animals and stuff and all of the
Mm.
shelters being full edge. I don't know what our percentage is, but. The money. The money value that, have you heard that? The money value that they're putting on these animals, that some of these towns paying crazy money to take care of 3 or 4 cats, like. It was crazy, it's like $25 a day.
all I can say is the requirements for animal shelter are astronomical. And why do all these
Why
animal
do we
shelters have problems? Because they don't have enough money.
They don't have, and the
Right.
biggest ones, I know some of them don't have volunteers either.
Mhm,
A lot of
they don't
them
have
try to
enough
do it on a
volunteers.
voluntary
They're
basis.
constantly asking for food donations,
Yes.
blankets and all that. stuff.
Same with, and you're tied, kind of tied
How
to
we
that
can
food,
use their stuff.
food type of thing that,
Mhm.
you know, you go over here now, I don't know if anybody's realized, but the, what is it, the Winslow or whatever food coverage sets up over here now, over by half one park, and they just set up tables and they did it a week and a half ago, and there was people pulled over, there was a traffic jam, and they were putting up, there was like 15 tables, and 20-pound bags of potatoes, and I guess it's stuff that's,
It's extra that they need to.
but you don't have to be, they said that you don't have to be like pulled in and ask some questions, you don't have to even be low income, if you need the food, you take it.
Yeah, so it isn't wasted.
And then, of course, this living over here, so they don't want nothing over here that's healthy. He's throwing away fruits and vegetables and good stuff.
Yeah.
He said they want, you know, some of the other stuff. But we've got a huge
Yeah.
opportunity
That's what
we
we're talking about with
need
the
here too,
grocery
but
store too.
community garden, we'd have to, I think it's a great idea, but
It is.
citing it.
Mhm.
We'd have to. look at
Raised
it.
beds.
Well, but again, then you've got the problem with having the cost of building a raised bed, then you have to haul in, you know, your compost and
Yeah.
make their soils and that sort of thing. If we
Well,
had someplace that was
If it's a
decent.
community garden, isn't that you have a certain area, like, I'm gonna use this part of the garden?
Right, but majority of the time that doesn't last very long.
I know.
Volunteerism.
Oh, I know, it doesn't, I don't do it in my own house, so I'm not gonna try a
I
garden.
do, it's a lot of work because they don't wanna come and, they don't wanna come and weed and they don't wanna do certain things, but. There are people that would love to do that,
Oh, yeah.
that don't have the room.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? If you sit down and you're a salad person and you grow cucumbers and some peppers or whatever, I'm a salad person. That's what I wanna grow, because that's what I buy a lot from Danforth, but it's cheaper for me to go out and buy a 10-pound bag of potatoes for $1.99 than it would be for me to try to grow them. By the time you think of the time and the effort.
Which is what I figured out when I tried to. go
You just know what you
I put
grow
more
would
money
be,
into it.
and it would be good and not have chemicals. and like that.
Yeah.
No, we talked
good.
about the garden before.
We just were talking about trying to find different ways to be able to cite what we had for town property and what would be
Mhm.
beneficial.
Mhm. Yes,
Cause again, if you go in my backyard the other day, I found out I had an infestation of Japanese beetles on my.
They're all
wild
over the
grapes,
place.
And I had to go out and take care of them with the old Dawn dish detergent.
Mhm.
But, yeah, so there's other things that you wanna,
You'd be proud, really quick sidetrack, I have black pepper.
but if you go to, like a lot of places too. It was like, I don't know if anybody witnessed that a couple weeks ago, but when they were hauling the manure and spraying it out West Pittsfield, I said, oh, you gotta do it on a 90-degree day, so everybody can smell
Well,
it.
that's
all the
what
time.
always happens.
Yeah, it seems like it dries out, it gets real hot and humid on the time that they're emptying out their pits or whatever for the dairy farm, but. Again, you wanna be conscientious about where you would do that community garden because of that, if we gotta use some compost and different things and. We don't wanna introduce any. Invasive species of bugs or any type of plants or even animals to an area that. Could be a problem to other residents, so.
Snails.
We've got some beautiful resources further down on the town farm property. I did.
What
work
is
with-
the town farm
Yeah,
property?
it's right behind, it's where the reuse building is.
Yeah.
Right behind that
Oh,
is
okay.
118 acres
Oh.
spread out. But from the cemetery down further, toward the water, facility. On that side of the road, it goes down to the river, there's trails through it, older trails,
Okay.
we had a forestry plan at one time. But people didn't wanna go forward with it, so we've got some information on doing that, doing cutting and everything to save some of the wood that's there, but there's also wood that could be harvested.
Mhm.
That would be a
There's a lot of
residue.
mature wood there that if we don't use it, it's just gonna fall over and die and it's not gonna have any beneficial use.
It's like in areas, it looks like you're in New Orleans when you have all
Mhm.
the plants coming down from the trees and everything in different sections. There's a bog that has a special name that's like, one of several.
How do you
in the
access
state of
this?
Maine. You go down through all the mosquitoes.
Oh, yeah.
There's a road that goes down in by where the pistol range is, there's a gate right there, you can walk through that, and if you walk to the road to the left, it's the,
Comes to down,
it's
take
the
a
old
left, center.
Moses Martin homestead.
Okay.
Stuff.
Down behind there.
Yes.
Okay.
It's gonna be mosquito-y and you'll see a landmark for the oldest, like the cellar hole.
Some weekend you wanna go for a walk, I'll take you for a walk.
Because
Because it's gotta be
Yeah.
very, very breezy, and I'll tell you.
Yeah,
you don't want to
breezy
take it
and
forward.
cool. Early spring
No,
and
I've never even heard of it.
late fall, late
Late
fall.
That's nice. I've never heard of it.
There's a raised bog down there that has a special ecosystem,
Yeah.
and there's, trees that are like silver maple. There's a
There's
whole
also
huge
black cherry,
stand, and those which
black cherry.
are endangered and are supposed to not be disturbed.
Yeah.
So there's quite a bit of items down there that would be, once we get the mosquito situation under control better. I mean, these are things that people would come from all across the state to go look
I can
at.
take you to spots where they had the old dumps from the old farm,
Oh,
and I can show you old farm and like sticking out of the ground at the
Cool.
left, and over the years, things grew over them or whatever, it's pretty neat, there's a lot of history.
Mhm.
Yes, I went to a place in New Hampshire a couple years ago. About which one it was that I had gone to, but if it's something after the mosquitoes get taken care of, stuff like that. You walk through the woods and everything was labeled,
Mhm.
not like every single thing,
Mhm.
not every
Yeah.
single plant.
Mhm.
But they actually had little things of labeling, like this is an ostrich farm, this is a black cherry tree with a little thing.
Yeah, this is an endangered lady slipper.
Yeah, like really, really interesting stuff, learning that, seeing that.
There's definitely those items down there.
It's like the yellow spotted salamander that's down in where the vernal pools are. A lot of people don't realize that, but I actually, when I've gone down in on the river where I walk in and go hunt down by the Svastik River, I've
Mhm.
actually found them in the snow. The yellow salamanders, because they're coming out. You would think they come out in winter time, but they come out in winter time to move from one to the other.
It's an amazing area. It's
It
just-
is, there's a lot of.
No, that's right up my alley, I'm upset he hasn't taken me.
You just have to run from the mosquitoes.
sure, you go where there's no mosquitoes.
That's
Listen,
not
Take
necessarily an
mosquitoes.
area I like to hang out with on my days off.
Listen,
And the bears.
we have a bunch of yarrow in the backyard, we will slather ourselves with yarrow and we will
Yeah.
go fight the mosquitoes.
I'm gonna give you a map, a compass, and point you in the right direction, and I'm gonna say,
Oh, no, you will not.
oh, we'll get.
Yeah, there is,
And ticks, the other thing is too, is ticks, so you wanna make sure that, I usually use some Corinthian stuff that I spray on my clothes, that's good for like 10 washes. And let it dry on.
Inside
Just
of
put that-
duct tape.
My dearest lady
That's
said
it.
on the ground ball.
there was a bear down there that Unity College was
We're not going.
checking up on.
There's still a female sow bear and some cubs safe there at the
Oh,
upper end, but in the spring, when the water gets high, they tend to come up towards
Yeah,
the transfer station, and you just have to be careful, only because if you encounter the
With the
cubs,
babies, yeah,
mom
yeah.
gets protective of them. It happened to me twice.
There was a
For one
dog.
time, it scared me more than anything. The second time, I think I hauled it, and then I think I did it with hands. I was like, it was right there. I come up over the little berm by the most smart thing, and she was right there, and I see the cubs, and I'm like, oh, what do I do? And she's like, wow, I'm like, see ya. I didn't mean to do anything.
The resident moose moved on.
Yeah, we're gonna lose down there too.
Oh,
But the
it's
moose-
been a long time.
They're just across the street.
They're
Yeah.
fictional. There was a little baby doe without a mama at the end of the road yesterday, or the other guy. It was kind of sad.
There's plenty of those too. There's plenty of wildlife. There's plenty of opportunity down there to do a lot of things at some point.
Yeah, it just needs to be organized. Everybody's got a different idea. Some people think that that's their department. It's town property for everyone. And so it would be a multi-step process to develop it a bit more.
Well, anything to do with nature stuff, I mean,
Out back, I've got all kinds of things.
I know, I showed you your poison ivy. a
Don't
couple
get
years
stay away
ago.
from the poison ivy.
I was over, I was like, that's the poison ivy right
Yeah, I
there.
didn't realize that. I better do some more cutting.
Yeah.
You know what you need is the goats. They'll eat that poison ivy right up roots and all, and it will never grow back.
Let's get some rent-a-goats.
Yeah, well, we're back to the animal stories again. All right, well, very good. Thank you all very much. We're gonna be adjourning at 7:30. I appreciate you all coming out and that was ours. And we'll get everybody else updated. Thank you.
Thank you.